Well, we welcome you back. We turn now to what could be the headline of the century. Can China, in fact, rival and then overtake America? We're calling this series Made in China, Your Job, Your Future, Your Fortune. And as you know, there have been Chinese bids to take over American oil companies. American fortunes have been won and lost. There have been political fights as well over what all this would mean. So we decided that Bill Weir should go there. Check it out for us. And 5,600 miles across and back later, he has a report. Bill?
It was an eye-opening journey, Diane. I got to tell you, Napoleon actually made this same trip about 200 years ago. He came home, he pointed to a map of China on the wall and said, "That is a sleeping dragon. Let him sleep. If he wakes, he will shake the world." Well, I'm here to tell you firsthand, that dragon is wide awake and caffeinated. And whether out of fear or excitement, it is time for America to start shaking. The first thing you notice is the airport. Modern, gleaming, soaring. One like this in almost every major city. And there are so many major cities. In the States, we have 9 urban centers with 1 million or more people. China has 174. And all of them are hives of buzzing progress. Skyscrapers growing like weeds. Huge malls, the largest in the world, bursting with all the trappings of Beverly Hills. But the most telling image of the new China comes when you leave those cities, head to the Western Mountains, and drive 4 knuckle-whitening hours up this road, past these rocks, to this village, and talk to this cabbage farmer. His name is Yang Guijing. He works these fields and supports his family of 4 on about $20 a week. They live in this tiny house without plumbing, and in the middle of our interview... Oh. He getting a call? His cell phone rings, and the service here is so good, he never has to say, "Can you hear me now?" Could you put that on vibrate for us, brother?
More people in China have cell phones than there are people in America.
In the last 25 years, 400 million Chinese have risen out of crushing dollar-a-day poverty. The average citizen's income has quadrupled. And with technology as the great equalizer, many believe it's only a matter of time before this developing country develops into a rival superpower.
China's not racing us to the bottom. They're racing us to the top. Okay? They don't want to work for General Motors. They want to be General Motors.
Wait a minute. Where are the communes and the suppressed uprisings? The hordes of bicycle-riding peasants living in drab oppression. Isn't it supposed to be a communist country?
You can find a lot of things in China these days. The one thing that's really hard to find is a communist.
I did meet one former party official who once served in Mao's infamous Red Guard. But he spent all our time together showing off his new $50 million chateau and never once mentioned the glories of communism. It seems Chairman Mao's painful legacy is slowly eroding each time someone exchanges his serene face for a cart full of junk food or a new television. But make no mistake, a free market does not mean freedom of religion or speech or assembly. And there is no better reminder than Tiananmen Square. My visit here comes 16 years after tanks crushed hundreds of peaceful pro-democracy demonstrators. Even now, people are still reluctant to talk about the massacre, and police maintain an intimidating presence, quick to break up even the smallest of gathering crowds. But as the guards checked our permit for the 3rd time, a woman stepped up and argued on our behalf. You can just hear her voice. It was a brazen act that might have gotten her arrested just a few years ago. So does this mean the iron fist is loosening?
After Tiananmen Square massacre, the Chinese leadership said to its people, okay, here's the deal, folks. You can do whatever you want. You can start whatever business you want. You can say in private, whatever you want. Just let us rule. We rule. We guarantee you 9% growth.
In order to sustain that explosive growth, this country of 1.3 billion realizes the need to produce quality as well as quantity. At the Microsoft lab in Beijing, they are churning out the most amazing stuff. Not just assembling, inventing, and humbling their American and European colleagues.
Oh, my yeah. So you just wrote music on a sheet of paper, and the computer played it.
That's right. You just wrote this, and the computer played it.
A few miles away, workers aren't sewing genes, they are mapping the human gene.
In science, there's only number 1, no number 2.
The next great breakthrough, Bill, in bioscience, it could come from a 15-year-old in Guangzhou who downloads the human genome, from Google wirelessly, walking down the street.
And the cultural landscape of their lives is changing at a dizzying rate. This old military factory now turns out the Chinese edition of 17 magazine for a generation of young people with familiar-sounding values.
They believe in self-expression. They believe in individuality. They believe in pursuit of happiness for themselves.
So it is not hard to imagine that one of the women lacing Nikes today could become the Donna Karan of tomorrow. The next Sam Walton could be stocking fish at the Shenzhen Walmart. While a future Madonna feels the groove at this Shanghai nightclub. Time will tell if they have the talent, but for the first time in a long time, they have opportunity. The DJ tells me he grew up buying his favorite music on the black market and playing it in secret. Now he makes a living spinning hip-hop above packed dance floors and says he can't imagine living anywhere else. So what is known as the American dream has now become the Chinese dream, but that provides very little comfort to some American politicians. See, if you own a clock, a camera, T-shirt, or a Christmas ornament, chances are it was made in China. And we've been buying so much of this stuff for so long, the Chinese government has managed to save a mountain of American dollars. And lately they seem anxious to spend it. But they don't want clocks or cameras. They want companies like IBM, Maytag, and Unical. And that is what has some so worried.
We are dealing with a takeover attempt by the most powerful communist dictatorship in the world.
Our economy has become less able to handle the challenge posed by rising China. We need to get our national house in order, and we need to do so now.
You can't think just one thing about China. The U.S.-Chinese relationship, more than any other relationship in the world, will determine the character of the lives for you, myself, our children, our children's children.
And speaking of children, while you were watching that piece, 350 Chinese babies were born. A lot of mouths to feed, and helping feed more and more of them, Walmart. On World News Tonight, we're going to look at how this quintessential American chain is changing China's fortune. If Walmart was a country, they would rank ahead of Britain, Russia, and Australia as a trading partner. And tomorrow on this show, we're going to talk about what that means about your job. Which ones are extinct? Which ones are on the brink of extinction?
Because of what you've seen there. One of the things that we always believed that they didn't have political freedom, so they wouldn't have an exchange of ideas, and they'd complain about not having political freedom, but no?
Never heard that once. They regard their government the way we sort of regard a trip to the DMV. It's bureaucratic, it's kind of a pain, but they've had so much oppression for so long. After 20 years of relative stability, there was so much optimism in this country. All they really want is a better television set, a nicer car to get their kids into college, just like Americans.
Just like that. Okay, Bill, as he said, tomorrow, your job and what jobs may be on the line because of what's happening in China. We'll take a break. We'll be right back.